Good morning, Sharon.
Good morning, Wendy. How are you?
Oh, look, I'm a bit chilly. But yes, I'm well. And isn't it funny we just decided to press record. But we've got a big episode today.
We have a very important episode.
And it's something that we do touch on quite regular in just about every episode, but this one's dedicated just to it as its own episode, and that's gratitude. Now, let me start off by saying that Louise wrote a book about gratitude and how amazing. It's called Gratitude, a Way of Life. And really, gratitude is a way of life. It really is. So she has a gratitude prayer. Let me read it for you. Deep at the center of my being, there is an infinite well of gratitude. I now allow this gratitude to fill my heart, my body, my mind, my consciousness, my very being. This gratitude radiates out from me in all directions, touching everything in my world, and returns to me as more to be grateful for. The more gratitude I feel, the more I am aware that the supply is endless. The use of gratitude makes me feel good. It is an expression of my inner joy. It is a warm fuzzy in my life. I am grateful for myself and for my body. I am grateful for my ability to see and hear, feel and taste and touch. I am grateful for my home and I take loving care of it. I am grateful for my family and friends and I rejoice in their company. I'm grateful for my work and I give it my best at all times. I'm grateful for my talents and abilities and I continually express them in ways that are fulfilling. I'm grateful for my income and I know that I prosper where I turn. I'm grateful for all my past experiences, for I know that they were a part of my soul's growth. I'm grateful for all of nature and I am respectful of every living thing. I'm grateful for today and I'm grateful for the tomorrows to come. I'm grateful for life now and forevermore. It's just beautiful.
It is. It absolutely is. And I just love gratitude. I just absolutely love gratitude. I think I give gratitude all day long.
Yeah.
But I would encourage people, I reckon probably 5 times a day, to have great gratitude for what is working in their life and what's not.
Yeah. And just to do that, thank you, thank you, thank you. Make that your mantra. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But it's really interesting because, we've covered off on a lot of things we were talking about this morning. But, gratitude is, or the lack thereof, is what will make a workplace really unbearable. It will make a relationship breakdown. It will make the bank account seem like it's going to cause you grief. It's that the lack of gratitude is what will have you spiral. And I think the relationship thing is one really important one for me, because I think it's when you lose the gratitude that you have for the other person, and whether that be that it's a marital thing and you lose the gratitude for the other person as being the mother or father of your children, or the contribution that has that they've made throughout the time that you've been together. I think that's where, and I know that I use that when I work with my individual clients. It's relationships aren't to be, they were never a piece of paper that you scrumbled up and crumbled up and threw in the waste paper bin. They were something to really take stock of and remember back to, because we get lost in life and we lose the gratitude for the other person. That can be the same in, a mother with children. It can be the same in
friendships,
just friendships. Yeah. It becomes a place of
working relationships, like partnerships, business partnerships. It can be anything, can't it?
Yeah. And so that's why this having this episode dedicated just to gratitude is a really timely one, because I think that there's a lot of people that are experiencing a lot of emotional baggage. But if we just took that time just to maybe sit and what that prayer says, get back and be grateful for all of those things, because in reading that, it has you start to reflect on all of the ups and downs that you've had in life, and for every up you're grateful for the good stuff that's come, but for the down you're grateful for the experience, for the lesson, for the ability to have that allow you to grow in a different direction. So Yeah.
Oh, totally. I totally agree with you. And I just love gratitude. Like gratitude just, I say to people, what if you flip the coin on that? You know, what is good? What good is happening in your life right now? You know, because obviously when we're working with clients, we're always trying to get them to acknowledge what's going on well in their life, because usually that when they've come to us or when they're through a process working with us, they are trying to stay positive and trying to look at the things. And one of my favorite things is I often tell people, have a look at the pie chart of your life. And so often you could have a wonderful life, but there's a patch in it. A piece of that pie is actually what's not working. Where do you put your focus? You don't go to what's working everywhere else. You go straight to what's not working, which is what you were saying about it becomes that lack of money, lack of relationship, lack of respect, lack of everything. And so when you can actually dive deep into that and go, okay, I may have been in a relationship for 30 or 40 years. What has actually been good in that relationship? What has actually worked well for me? In a business relationship, what actually was great for that? You know, we forget to go back and just reconnect with the strengths, with what was great. Okay, it may have broken down now, but what was wonderful that you can focus on and take from that? Even if you lose a loved one, I even say to people at that time, go back and look throughout that relationship with that loved one. What was wonderful? And focus on that and give gratitude for that. Every day I give gratitude, and many, many, many times a day. You know, but often it could be just the simplest things like we have bottled gas. I'm so bloody grateful when my gas doesn't run out and I'm having a cold shower, because that happens.
Yeah.
And I have to, you know, either run out, chuck a towel on me, or run out in the nick and bloody, you know, thankfully I'm on a property, and flip that switch to get me some hot gas, or which happened just this week. But thankfully hubby was home and I could scream out to him and say, right, I'm going to flick the gas switch. And I was so grateful when that hot water came back on me from that cold water, and just being grateful that it was clean as well.
Yeah. And grateful that he was there to help.
Yes, but just gratitude for the simplest things of that to the most complex of separation or losing someone you love or not having enough.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think that when things aren't going so well, it's the very first place that we need to go, because it can switch us from that feeling of, you know, when you're really down, you know, you get into that lack of more your own personal stuff, the lack of deserving, the lack, you know, the self-worth, the self-esteem, the self-confidence, all of the stuff. You know, if it's a relationship breakdown, you know, I'm not worthy, you know, I'm not good enough, I'm not. And it's when you can flip that to see what, you know, what it used to be like, and be grateful for the ups and downs that you have there, that makes you really take stock of the goodness that came out of that time together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's I do believe that it's just a lack of gratitude.
Oh, look, I can even take myself, Wendy. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go.
I can take myself just back to a recent client that I worked with, and they were at the stage where they had a lot of stuff going on in their life, and really focused on that their relationship wasn't working. And interestingly enough, I know I work with a lot of women, she was able to tell me everything about her husband that was driving her crazy, everything that was irritating her, everything that wasn't working in their relationship. And she was focused on all the reasons why she should leave him. Yeah. So I got her to do an exercise, and I got her to go away, and we talked about this in depth during her session. And we talked about the importance of, why did she originally get with him in the first place? Yep. Now, this relationship was only, it was a second relationship, and it was only probably in its 15th year. No, it might have only been in its 10th year. But I said, go back and actually tell me what attracted you to him in the first place. I want you to start and go back through that relationship. Where was the fun? Where was the joy? What did you love hanging out with him? What did you used to do? And so we actually started to record, the coffees on a Saturday where we'd have dates, but they weren't really dates and didn't really acknowledge it as that. But started to go back and say, well, where did you meet and what did you do? And really took a deep dive into that relationship in the early days when it was fun and there was joy and there was laughter and there was happiness. And I got her to start giving gratitude for that. But I also started to get her to start doing some of that stuff back in the relationship, bringing that stuff in the relationship. Within a month, she was due to come back and have another session, and we did that. But interestingly enough, how things had turned around so much in that month, because her focus was no longer on what the lack and the irritation, and how she couldn't, basically got to the stage where she couldn't stand even being in the same room with him.
Yeah.
But by flipping the coin on that and starting to look at all the positive stuff and actually going back and revisiting some of the really fun stuff, creating, they started to go and have coffee dates again and have a date night, and started to have a conversation instead of both sitting there on their devices, and all of those different things. She also started to look at what he did good for her, the things that he was doing that were good for her instead of what he wasn't doing, like maybe not picking up his socks, but he actually cooked a meal for her and things like that. And so from that, within 1 month of gratitude, she was able to flip her relationship. Okay, she's had to continually work on that over the last 4 months, but she can't believe how far she's come by just flipping the way she saw things and giving gratitude for how things were so wonderful in her life. And one of the things that I said to her that was a real, basically, showstopper for her in the very early session was, what would you do if you lost him today? Where would you be?
Yeah. And
do you really still want to be with him? And I want you to ask yourself honestly that question. And so she said to me, oh God, I love him. I went, well, you need to now act like you love him.
But you know what? When we get into that, and, I've been there, I think there's a lot of people that have.
Absolutely.
You put on these glasses that you see everything that's wrong with that person. And all it is, they're the lack glasses. So you're going to look for every single thing that's wrong with that person. Take those mongrel things off and start to write out the things that are good about that person, and see how it turns around in no time at all. And quite often, I've had clients where the grasses looked greener on the other side. And so the glasses, the lack glasses that they're looking at their current relationship, they're looking to try and find what's wrong there, rather than having any gratitude whatsoever for that relationship that they've always had, that they've had. Because the one on the other side of the fence is not necessarily, it's just that it's the bright and shiny you thing that may not actually give them what they truly desire, because they've already got it.
And that's why I actually asked her to go back and say, well, do you really want to live without him? Yeah. And if you do, that's a whole different story again. That if you really don't want to be in that relationship, that's a whole different event. However, if you actually do want to be there, and I, like you, I've been down that road, and I'm pretty sure my husband's been down that road with me, where we get to the stage where sometimes we don't really like them anymore. But you have to actually acknowledge, and it's an inside job. You have to do this yourself. What is it? Why do you actually love that person? And it could be that you're writing that down, and you're actually, he makes me laugh. He brings me a cup of tea in the morning. He is kind and compassionate and loving and caring, and he's a wonderful dad. And we just aren't focused on that. We're actually focused on back to the lack. And that's where you need to bring yourself in and out and take responsibility for your thoughts and your actions and give gratitude.
Exactly. And knowing that it's as simple, just like that.
It is.
It is. It really is just that simple. And you don't have to broadcast it to the world. Just get yourself a journal and just start to write the things that you're grateful for. And then if it is a relationship, write the things that you're grateful for about that particular person. And start to remember. I know that, for me, we've had the usual relationship stuff. But when my husband had his aneurysms in 2010, our whole lives changed, and we have gratitude for each other every single bloody day, because you never know what tomorrow will bring.
That's exactly right.
Which
is why I use that question, is what, if he wasn't here, if he died this afternoon, how would you feel?
Yeah.
Because that is real. It happens.
Yep.
And do you actually want to go on and live your life because you'll then have all that guilt? Because that's what happens if if your partner does pass, he or she, and then you've got to carry that guilt that you probably could have made it better, or you feel, you know that you were fighting. I know so many people that I've worked with that have actually not turned it around before the partner has passed, and then they've had to deal with their guilt because they could have given so much more gratitude to life with them when they were actually here. It's about acknowledging the goodness in one's life now.
Yeah. But not just in one's life now, it's acknowledging the goodness in others too.
Oh, absolutely.
Instead of seeing the shitty stuff all the time, you got to look for the goodness.
Yep. And as we know, sometimes you buy an apple and it's bloody got a brown patch in it, but you can eat around it.
Yeah. So true. So very true. Yeah, it is. I think that one of the greatest things that you can do if you're looking for something is to get that jar and start it off at the beginning of the year, and just every day write one thing that you're grateful for in that jar, and then have a look at the end of the year, or when you're going through a bad patch, open it up and have a read of those things, because it will change the way that you look at things, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Wayne Dyer, absolutely. And it's interesting, the gratitude jar. I love that you brought that up, the gratitude. I love the gratitude jar. And you don't have to wait till the beginning of the year. You can start one anytime. One really great exercise that that works, and I've tried this, is you can pop a gratitude jar. I used to have one on my desk at work. And I used to get them to put stuff in it. And so you don't only just get gratitude from yourself, but you get gratitude from others as well, and look at it from a totally different perspective, which is a beautiful way to raise your energy, actually, to actually, just realize that things around you are pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. I have these little cards that you can buy when I'm not having the, I use them especially when I have function, like when I have events.
Yep.
But they're in a little box, beautiful little box, and they've just got a little message in them. These ones here, I've got love, life, believe, and hope. My gratitude ones I'm out of. I've got to get some more of them. But what they are is, when you open, it's a sealed little message.
Yes, you've shown me them before. They're great.
And then when you open it, like you got to actually physically, it's stuck. It's stuck. It is stuck.
It literally is stuck.
And this one here, impossible is just an opinion.
Yeah,
they're the kinds of messages that that you can get. But the gratitude ones, for me, are so very, very good. They were the first ones to go, actually, in my box sets. So yeah, it's definitely worth doing the little things that you can every day to put yourself into the state of being grateful, and then seeing how it ripples out into everything that you do in your life. Being grateful can, even though you don't even think it, all of a sudden you'll start to see, car parks, it might be extra dollars in your pocket, it might be a nice bunch of flowers from your partner. It might be whatever it is. It's just when you start to raise your vibration, you start to be grateful, then miracles happen.
I totally agree with that. If I'm, because we can all get in the mud. We can all be, slobbering around there in the mud, having a great old time, feeling sorry for us in that self-doubt, self-pity area. Done it heaps, do it all the time. But I'm getting better at getting myself out. I'm pulling myself out of that trough. And, I've been working on this, and this does, it's something you have to work at every single day. And so having beautiful cards like that are great as well, because sometimes when you are feeling a little bit crappy, I also encourage all my clients that I work with to get a cheap little exercise book from Woolies. And when you're great, your vibration's high, sit and write for as long as you can, all the things you're grateful for, so that when you are in that mud, you can actually go to your book. And you'll be so surprised at how quickly, once you start to read through what you're grateful for, you'll bring yourself out of that bad attitude.
And it goes back to what we spoke about last podcast about the book, The Magic.
Yes.
If you want something that's a guided book, go and get that, because that will take you straight there. It will. It would just, it's a guide, 28 days, and you just, every day you're guided to do something different. So it's like a coach in your pocket, but the whole basis of that is all gratitude, the whole lot of it.
And I actually didn't buy the hard copy book, Wendy. I went and bought the audio book. And I now quite often will pop that if I'm feeling a little bit flat, because these days I call it more flat than in the mud, because, I used to wallow in the mud all the time, but now it's more of a flat space. But I will put that on my audio, I'll pop that Audible on, and in no time, and it just comes up wherever it randomly comes up, which is what I usually need to hear.
Yeah.
It's great. It just pulls me back out. It gets me back into being grateful for whatever.
Yeah.
It's a really useful, as I said, the Audible version for me works really, really well, because it just straight away, it puts me back into the space of making me become grateful for what's going on around me.
Yeah. I bloody love that. I love that app.
I do too.
I love my account there, because it is so good.
Well, after you told me about it, I went and bought it.
Yeah. Well, I had to do a 4-hour trip last Thursday. And so I got to start to listen to a book there, and it made me so very grateful for my life, and that was Sinead O'Connor's book, Rememberings. So I'm grateful for the app that I was able to listen to that on my travels. I was grateful for that book, that it was eye-opening, really was. And it does, when we have a look back on our own lives and you think, well, that was pretty shitty. But in actual fact, there's always someone who's had it worse. Always. Always.
Absolutely.
And we don't have to wallow in how bad it was. We can be grateful for the experience and what it taught us, and be able to live a different life. It helps us make choices.
And it's funny you actually say that, because today I received a message, and I don't know where it came from. It was a messenger message from somebody, and it was actually a photo in one of the groups, one of my groups that I have. I think it might have even been my Parks group. And someone had posted a picture of a young person, obviously in poverty, and they had a pair of white sneakers on that were way too big for them, and the back of the sneakers were pegged with a peg. And it was exactly what you just said. It was actually being grateful for what you have, because there is always someone around you feeling worse off.
Yeah. And we can when we lose, we get disgruntled with our workplace. We can be grateful for the fact that we've got a job, that we've got income coming in, and that there's other people out there that don't have the same liberty. Be grateful for life. I had a message come through with one of my friends passed, and And the message was, don't take getting old for granted. Like, be grateful for every day, because growing old is not a privilege afforded to many. So, you know, there's all of those things. I know, you know, in my year, like where I'm at in life now, I'm seeing a lot of people that are not happy. They're just disgruntled with getting old.
I know.
And, you know, you've got an extra couple of wrinkles and you got this and you got that. Well, I love all of mine. I love
Me too.
all of them. And I'm very grateful, because, yes, they do. Every single one of them has a story and has an experience. And it's to do with, you know, the closest ones that are there with me. You know, it's the having kids and you know, being in a relationship and having, you know, a family and all that sort of stuff all contributes to this. You know?
My goodness, yeah. And that's even like grey hairs, you know, we often laugh about, I mean,
I'm totally grey.
Well, that's right. I'm still colouring at the moment, because I did let my hair go back a fair bit, and I really don't have that much grey hair there. So, I mean, my mum's 86, never had a colour in her hair, and she probably has 20 grey hairs. So,
she's got a lot of chromium going on in her body then.
That's right. But whereas my dad, he was grey by the time he was 40. He was white, actually, by the time he was 40, but he passed away in his late 50s. So, you know, I wonder if that tells you. My mum's still a very healthy 86-year-old. She's self-sufficient, drives herself around, lives by herself, climbs ladders, which she shouldn't, and, you know, does way too much she shouldn't, but she just makes the most of life. I sometimes think to her, she probably lives in more of a world of lack. And I think that comes more from a poverty background of, even though her family was much wealthier than many, my pop had a government job. But I think that was the era. But when she talks about a lot of other stuff, she is always very grateful that, you know, she often says to me, I'm very grateful that I'm not in a home like all my friends. That's one of her favourite sayings.
Yeah.
And little does she realise, she's actually refocusing her life back onto where she has, and the fact that she can live at home by herself, and, you know, that she is still working in that space. And so it's just those little things. It's just really expressing yourself about the happier stuff in your life. And when you give a good focus to that and you practice it, the opposite is the lack. You've practiced to become negative. Practice to become positive. It's that simple.
Yeah, it is. It is. You know, you're right. There is an era that it was about, you know, they spoke more about what they didn't have, how bad, you know, how many sicknesses they've developed, how bad their upbringing was, like all that kind of stuff. But it's the flip side, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. You know, like my mum was in the era of Louise Hay, but she doesn't know who she is. And that is probably a lot to do with the fact that in this day and age, we have so much access to social, like the internet has changed our lives to how much access we have. And so my mum has probably the half and half. She's got a half cup full sometimes, and she's got a half cup empty sometimes. And that's okay. You know, that works for her, and whatever works for her. But you can make your life even that much better by continually focusing on the cup that's half full.
Absolutely. It's like the dog sitting on the nail. You can sit there and moan, or you can just get up and move. And by getting up and moving, the analogy of getting up and moving is simply by making a choice to be grateful.
It is. It's a mindset. It really is. It's an actual choice. And I say this to my clients all the time. Being grateful is a choice.
Yeah.
It's a simple choice to decide whether or not you want to appreciate what you have around yourself that is working well, or whether you don't. I can't do that work for you. You have to do that yourself.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. It's it is. It's an inside job. It's about choices and, you know, what we want out of life.
Yeah.
Do we want to be miserable? Is that a choice you want to make? Or do you want to see the beauty in things? And that's about being grateful.
It's just by saying thanks. You know, I mean, I'm grateful that you and I can do this podcast most weeks. You know, how exciting. Like, whoever listens. The people that need it, if you're meant to be hearing it, you'll be here.
Absolutely.
But just letting you know, I mean, I hope I let you know enough how much I appreciate you. I really do.
And vice versa. I think it's a great, we're like a Laurel and Hardy, yin and yang, day and night, you know, but on the same path. Like we've done our trainings together, and I think that both of us already had a really good foundation in the stuff. So when we did come together to get that, certification, we were probably, it was just a natural progression, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, it was. And we don't, and you probably don't hear it as much on this podcast, but Wendy and I don't always have the same opinion. But what we do is we give gratitude for the fact that Wendy has, I give gratitude for the fact that Wendy has her opinion, and she gives gratitude and respect the fact that, well, we often will go, well, I don't agree with that, or I don't agree with that, but we still respect each other, and we're still grateful that we get the opportunity to be able to see each other's side of it. I think that's what's really important as well. The fact that we have such a wonderful relationship where you can give me your side of it, I can give you my side of it, and both of us respectfully take that on and give gratitude for that and take from what we want from it and move on.
Exactly. And there's no and this is about relationships. If we're talking about gratitude for relationships, is, either us could have that, I don't want to, acknowledge that that's the opinion, and it could be a wedge, but it's not.
No, we probably love each other and respect each other more because of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's about us being able to be our true selves and acknowledge and be grateful for the fact that I know I'm grateful for the fact that you're willing to be all who you are right in front of me, and that you're grateful that I'm the same, because that's authenticity.
Absolutely.
I don't have to hide behind, anything. I can just be me. And I'm very grateful for the fact that you accept me for me being me.
Yes. And I love you for that. I love you for the fact that you are a passionate woman, that you wear your emotion on your sleeve and you're not afraid to stand up for the underdog. I love that. I respect that. And I'm very grateful for that, because without people like you, things probably wouldn't be moving forward in the world. But on the same token, you're also grateful that sometimes I'd rather be an ostrich. I don't want to read the news. I don't want to, But that works both ways. We both respect that. We both are grateful for each other, that we both have our own individual personal, we both make our own individual personal choices. We have our own beliefs. But that doesn't stop us from being really good friends.
Exactly. Yep. And it comes down to gratitude. It does. It just comes down to gratitude.
Being grateful for our differences.
Yes. Because so many will not be grateful. They will just say, you know what, you're different, go away. But that's doesn't have to be that way.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I just love gratitude. It's a really high vibe, isn't it? I just love it.
It is, and it does. It just changes. It changes how you feel inside. It changes that you can be feeling like shit, seriously. Where you're really down in the mouth and like everything's going wrong, and this feels really horrible. This, if your relationship's in tatters or whatever. But as soon as you pick up that journal and start to write what you're grateful for about anything, especially with people, it just, how you feel inside changes almost immediately.
And look, we both know, because we're both living proof of it, that gratitude actually does improve your health. Gratitude improves your social environment. Gratitude absolutely is good for your mental wellness.
Absolutely, it is.
And we know that there's a lot of research out there these days, and there's more and more research happening, but we don't need that research, because you and I both we're lived experience here. Yeah. I know when I'm wallowing in my own bloody pig poop, and I know when I'm singing up there. I try not to let that gap become too much. I try and give myself an uppercut pretty quickly and say, hey, get yourself out of that crap and, you know, get your gratitude back on.
Yeah.
And it's like wearing a suit to a certain degree. Sometimes you might have to fake it a little bit to make it. But
it's a commitment that you're going to make to yourself, though.
It is, isn't it? It is really. Do you think? I probably would say it's a form of self-care as well.
Oh, absolutely, it is. Yes, it's probably the greatest form of self-care.
Yeah.
Because you're changing up every cell in your body. So it's about your physical well-being, it's about your mental well-being, it's about your emotional well-being, it's about your spiritual well-being. It's touching on absolutely everything. And so you know, if you're in the doldrums, your cells are really susceptible. They're open for anything to happen.
Right.
You know, and not only that, your mental clarity isn't there. So it might mean a physical, you could have a fall or whatever. And, you know, it's about that whole uplifting. Like you see days differently. You do.
You do. Yes. Yeah. I reckon it actually, and I don't have proof around this, but just with my own lived experience, I know that gratitude actually embraces my resilience. It actually develops and fosters my resilience.
Yeah. Yep.
It helps me give satisfaction in life.
And on top of all of that, when you give gratitude, you're given more to be grateful for.
Yes.
Or is it that you just see things differently? That you see the gratitude instead of it that you know, you can be blocked off and don't see anything. And as soon as you're sort of grateful, you've taken the blinkers off and you can see a lot more to be grateful for.
Yeah,
so
it's like the fog, isn't it? You know, we are very familiar with fog here. Yesterday our fog didn't, I don't think it left until lunchtime, and we couldn't even see our front fence.
Oh, wow.
And it was here all day. The sun did try to sneak through, but it is like when you don't give gratitude, it's like having that foggy day where the clarity's not really there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And again, it comes back to choice.
It is.
Yeah. Just make a choice to be grateful.
Inside job, that is. Inside job of self-care. There you go. I love that. I think that's a really nice way to bundle that up. It's probably your highest ranking, cheapest option for self-care.
Yeah. You don't even have to have anything. Just
get
a cuppa and go and sit somewhere by yourself.
That's right.
But you know, if you want to step into it a little bit more deeply, it's going to cost you maybe $1 for a book at a cheap shop, you know, and a pen.
Or get on YouTube and do a gratitude meditation, or listen to some gratitude affirmations. You know, we are in a world where we have access to everything.
Yep.
To the good or the bad, and it's a choice that you can make.
Exactly. Yep. Have to agree. On that note, I think we might have inspired someone today to maybe go and step into this a little bit more fully.
Go and get your gratitude on.
Yeah. It's you know, cool on the eastern states, so it's just like putting a cloak on. Put your gratitude cloak on.
Yeah, it's like stoking the fire. Go and put another piece of wood in that fire, and embrace the warmth that gratitude gives you.
Exactly. So thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Wendy.
And don't forget to follow us on our socials. Leave us a message on our YouTube channel or send us a DM. There's something you'd like us to talk about. And don't forget that you can rate us on Spotify, and that will help us get out to a few more people. So we would love to have you help. Yeah, share us.
Share us. We love sharing with you, so share with us.
Exactly.
We would be very grateful.
Yes, we would. On that note, see you next week.
Bye for now.